sort of battle that's been going on, and largely it's folks on the left, but sometimes it's folks on the right that participate and partake in this battle as well, and it is over words and what words mean. A good example of this is the word republic, and the problem is I'm not willing to say that I have a definitive answer to the meaning of that word. I have some idea. I think I know what was intended by the people who used it where the United States is concerned, we're trying to say, but it's one of those words that honestly it's not as clear what it means in many people's minds, and they tend to do things like use erudition of various kinds, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, to sort of recast that word into what other people have meant by it, and I think doing so in a detrimental way. But that having been said, I want to talk today on the idea of American government, partially with the idea of discussing that idea of republic as opposed to democracy on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I am Kurt. It is Saturday, the 5th of March of 2022. That would be the majority of the Sabbath from till sundown today. For those of you who observe the Sabbath. Tomorrow will be Sunday, the 6th of March. I don't normally say that at the beginning of my podcast, but I'll do it today, which is the beginning of that Christian week. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on Facebook, on my Facebook page, which would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, on kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, if you happen to be catching me there, on Minds, MINDS.com, typically on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, though you might find me other places, on Parler, on Gab, wherever else you happen to be finding me. And again, today we're going to talk about American government. Perhaps terms are being abused. These are my notes, by the way, in case you're wondering. That's what I'm doing at the moment. Maybe the United States isn't a republic. I'm not willing to quibble terms where this is concerned. The fact is, whatever it is not a democracy. The United States is not a democracy. Nor is it an entity where we have representative democracy that's not beholden to the law of the land. The way things are intended to work here is for those elected or appointed into positions of power to be beholden to laws already in existence. Some of those laws can be changed, but they really should never be ignored. Some are, by intent, a great deal harder to modify. The base laws of America, for example, are the Constitution, United States Constitution, including its amendments, and the Declaration of Independence, which you could argue is less of a law and more of a statement of why the U.S. came into being. I'll buy that. I'm not saying there aren't others. It would be somewhat difficult to change, just that as a rule, the two listed aren't intended to be quite set in stone. Very close, but not quite. That's why the amendments exist, by the way, is because people felt changes needed to be made. For those who choose to argue that the American government is democratically elected, allow me to point out the following. The president is brought to power not by democratic election, but electoral college, which, though it's based on a democratic vote, is not democracy. Intentionally not democracy. His cohort are intended to be selected or continue to be in power by the authority of the executive. That's what's supposed to happen there. The Senate was intended to be selected by the states, not the people thereof. That idea has since been subverted. The Supreme Court justices are intended to be appointed and confirmed by the chief executive and the Senate. Out of all, only the House of Representatives was ever intended to be elected by the people via democratic process. And I might point something out about that I didn't put in my notes. That is the democratic process within a given state, not on a federal level. They don't get there as a democratic process that the whole country says we want this person to represent Kentucky. or this district in Kentucky. That's how undemocratic the U.S. actually is. In this country, it wasn't supposed to be the wise running things either, which is certainly a good thing since the folks at the helm are definitely between quite intelligent and dumb as rocks. Some of them are intelligent, but some of them are dumb as rocks. I'm sorry. Rather, it was intended to be people who were willing to act in accord of the laws of the country and the various states and so forth. Where legislators are concerned, they have the right to change those laws according to rules that, as stated before, make it nigh unto impossible to change certain of them. Part of the point is, there wasn't intended to be an aristocracy here. Further, though some of the legislators were intended to represent the people and elected by the people on a periodic basis, they were not supposed to be able to override existing law without changing it where it was possible to do so. This means even if the majority in a given region of the U.S. elect a socialist, if that person cannot enact his or her policies while living under the law, he or she can't do it at all. Further, the idea that, quote, the people can be, end of quote, can become tyrannical, whether the majority or some minority, is also halted when the law is followed as it is supposed to be. To be fair, it's easier for tyranny to occur on lower levels than on the level of the nation as a whole, and it's technically possible for such things to happen at those lower levels through use of regional authority. That's what you have to consider. We need to take some time to talk about this more, to discuss how American government is similar to and different from other countries. That's what the rest of my time will be devoted to today. I want to finish my notes by quoting Ben Franklin's supposed answer to what kind of government the U.S. has. He said simply, or at least it's reported by some that this is the case, a republic if we can keep it. Okay, done with my notes. There are, by intent in the United States, multiple levels of government. The lowest level of government is the people, which you kind of go, well, that pretty much means everybody. But as you move up, government tends to become more, I'm trying to think of a good word here. It tends to become more ordered. It tends to be more structured. But even if you look at, say, for example, state government, okay, you have typically judges that are appointed, legislators that are elected, because there's not a need for people to represent the state separately from the people who represent the people of the state. You really typically don't need bicameral Congress at the state level. Nonetheless, you have representatives at the state level who are elected by the people of their region, not the people overall, to make it so that the people of at least of a given region have say as opposed to the state as a whole. And of course that happens on the federal level as well, right? You have regional representatives. You don't have a representative or 5 representatives that all come from whatever, Salem, Oregon. You have one representative from Salem, maybe 2 if it's big enough. Then you have 1 from Portland or 2 from Portland or whatever. And the point is you have, and I'm using Oregon as an example, but the point is you have representatives from all over the place. And so that's supposed to keep a given region from doing a minority stranglehold on the remainder, or even a majority stranglehold on the remainder of the people in a given region, in a given state. And that's true on the federal level, and it's true on a state level. That's how the representation works. Again, Judicial tends to be appointment. There are elections for some of them, I grant you, but judicial tends to be appointment. Executive tends to be hire-ins or appointments, one or the other. It depends on what level and sort of what they're intended to do and so forth. But the point that I'm making here is, and by the way, I realize I'm a minute over my time. The point that I'm making here is simple. It is that the United States is not a democracy if you say anything else about it. Is it a republic? Well, that's for other people to judge. Okay, obviously I can talk on this for a while, and there's a lot to say, and probably I ought to go through and talk about this some more at a later time, but I need to go ahead and wrap things up because I'm more than a minute. I'm a minute and a half over where I like to have my videos be. So let me go ahead and wrap up. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday the 5th of March of 2022. Again, that would be that end of the Sabbath at sundown today. So the Sabbath today, so hope you're having a good Sabbath if you observe it. Tomorrow will be Sunday the 6th of March of 2022. That will be that beginning of the Christian week, according to most Christians, and that includes me. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That's Kurt's Religion and Politics.facebook.com, on Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, on minds.com. Again, typically on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, on Parler, on Gab, or wherever else you happen to be picking me up. Remember that you can give me a Rumble on Rumble if you choose to do so, which is my preferred platform. You can give me a plus or minus there, a like or dislike of my content. You can give me whatever sort of feedback you're able to in that sort of vein, plus, minus, like, dislike, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it happens to be, heart, whatever it happens to be, if you're wherever you happen to be seeing me. Remember that you can comment on my content if you choose to do so, and I will do my best to look at it. I will respond or reply to it if I feel like it's reasonable to do so. I may respond to it with a thumbs up, thumbs down type of a thing. Typically, it will be thumbs up. I will delete it if it is garbage as far as I'm concerned. So advertisement, things that are intended to harm other people or whatever. Won't delete it even if I look at it and scratch my head over it, unless I just really feel like you're way off target. I probably won't do that. Today's subject has been American government, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the idea of using nuclear weapons. I titled it simply Using Nukes. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Saturday the 5th of March of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S. .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.